It is Monday. RawMikeRichards.com. Broadcasting live from 234 King Street East, downtown Toronto, from the Pacific Junction Hotel. I'm still a little rattled, as you saw. I thought Victor, in his first week with Sports Interaction, was outstanding. Was brilliant. And then, of course, the ugliness of having the last game of a 9-game parlay in the hands of the Seattle Seahawks. What were both of us thinking? That's just, I got to tell you that sometimes you would, I mean, you'd think I'd be just livid. And just so you know, on that particular parlay, which was 9 games, I only bet $3, but it was worth $1,100. So I am, when it was 6 Cobb, literally a touchdown away from winning $1,100 against the awesome power of the San Francisco 49ers and the unbelievable career of Brian Hoyer. I got to be honest, I didn't think he was playing anymore.
He shouldn't be playing anymore, but for some reason he is.
Someone said, so what were the great games of the weekend when you take a look at the NFL? What were the great games? Great games? Okay, you may have learned a whole bunch. Like there's this season in the NFL.
You know what? The Sunday night game was a good game. It was. I'm not going to say great game, but it was exciting. I like that. But you know what? Like half the game is fun to watch.
Yeah, so I think you got 50% of trading touchdowns and a lot of great storylines.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you have 14, 15 games in a week, and I'm sitting there going, okay, was it the Carolina-Buffalo game? No, probably not.
Eagles-Chiefs was okay.
Eagles-Chiefs was okay, but boy, did it get off to a slow start too.
Big time.
And again, I think I'm not calling it a hangover. I'm just talking about the lack of game time experience with first team offense. That's why the defense is generally, I mean, if you took the unders in a lot of, most of the games in the first 2 weeks, I don't have that in front of me, but the unders must be dominating, absolutely dominating. And look, there's a lot of games coming up where I can see some more grinding. Now, I believe after that New England performance, which both Dave and I saw coming, they're down to, well, I think 0 receivers. I don't think. Like even Hogan got hurt yesterday towards the end. So you have Edelman, Amendola, Gronkowski. I believe Hogan might still be walking. But for Tom Brady, who's been brilliant, like a lot of underneath crossing routes, a lot of slot work, guys running out of the slot. I mean, in some ways, it's interesting that Bill Belichick has used an offense and Tom Brady that's something that's very familiar to us that watch the Canadian Football League. Like some of the great quarterbacks that have played in this league were really, really good at what Tom Brady kind of does. Now, I'm not comparing them to Tom Brady. I'm saying there's a similarity in philosophy. Take a look, Dave, at like a Tom Wilkinson all those years ago.
Sure,
he wasn't known for going back and throwing. He if you're going back, why am I trying to blank all of a sudden?
Fire. Me team.
The little general, Saskatchewan.
Ronnie Lancaster.
So Ronnie Lancaster, same kind of thing, where they dissect you, if you want to say dink and dunk, and then occasionally going deep because, that is not how New England beats people. Tom Brady doesn't go out like a Warren Moon would or like even to a degree an Aaron Rodgers or, a guy that's going to be known for a gun of an arm. No, he's a cerebral quarterback. In a very similar way that Peyton Manning wasn't the greatest athlete on the field, but he was a football computer. But in this next couple of weeks, including, I think, does New England not have Houston?
Coming up this weekend, yes.
So I don't know what that number is going to be in terms of the total, but already, and this is kind of what they say the sharps do, they get in early before the line moves. They get in. That's how they can tell, basically, when you get that early line.
Patriots minus 13 at home to the Houston Texans.
What is the total? What is the over-under?
Total right now is at 43.5.
You might be taking the under in that one because I'm telling you, Houston's not going to score. And how many points?
They're not going to allow too many either. Right?
Yeah, and so what do you think is going to happen? I mean, now with no receivers, what do you think that game plan is going to look like? A series of rocket-like bombs going off in the air? This is the opposite of a track meet game. I don't know how that number gets it's sort of like looking early when we saw Buffalo and the Jets. You know, there's a lot of under stuff, but these teams so far this year in the NFL are just grinding away. Just grinding away. And I'm saying from an engagement, from an entertaining standpoint. Now, we're going to watch even that horrible Thursday night game that we just saw. But isn't there another equally terrible game coming?
You bet there is. San Francisco versus Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, that's just the Thursday night games. We watch them because we gamble on them. We've got our fantasy pools. By the way, how'd that work out with Ezekiel Elliott?
Exactly. That was garbage. Pure garbage. On the road. Good defensive team they faced, but really, yeah, we'll get to that more in a bit. But honestly, there was a lot of garbage performances on the weekend. So
here's I can see it now, so I'm going on my phone.
Yeah, far away.
Claude, so here's Claude.
Yep.
By the way, he calls himself Claude now. I'm not fucking saying that.
Really, eh?
I'm Claude. No, you're Claude. Sorry, buddy. Nice try, though. Did Seattle screw your ticket up? What are you, Looch?
Holy smokes.
You saw the ticket. All right, let's show the ticket. It's also on Twitter. This was what myself and quote-unquote Victor Newman.
Come on, Claudie.
Had, yeah.
Damn it, Claude.
By the way, Dave Bastel's Hateful Eight is coming up for the first time on rawmackrichards.com.
Claude, you just made the list with that last comment, too. And Hateful Nine you. Right
now. That's right. Or what is it, Nuff? In your hey, Claude? Nuff? Do you not have what I just sent you?
Yeah.
No. No. It's what I just sent you that actually has the wins and losses right on it. I sent you something that would have what the ticket, not what went out. It's the results. The result of it.
It's right here.
Yeah, there you go. So this is myself and quote unquote Victor Newman. What we had. Look at that. Once again, that was on Sports Interaction, and I made that ticket up on, as you can see, Saturday morning. So as the lines changed and moved, and as you find out more information, for instance, if you took Tampa, that was just a gift. Yep. You know, once the game started, crack open a couple of beers.
Wasn't even close.
Whatever food you want to make. You want to go out and barbecue or thaw, I don't know, an entire turkey? Do that, because that was just a gift. And then Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Bradford doesn't play, gift. In fact, even if Bradford played, I still would have made that pick. But when I made it on Saturday morning, it's not like I was watching lines. I tried to get in there early, and as you saw, there's the settle. So that was 8 out of 9.
If Bradford played, though, it would have been more competitive.
Sure would, 100%.
You know, because that number floated around 6, 5.5, 6.5, and then all of a sudden it's like 9.5. I'm like, uh-oh, there's something wrong going on here.
Yeah.
Somebody, because he...
Is that what it jumped to?
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
He was on the field. He took some snaps. He threw the ball. And he walked off the field, and I'm watching this while I'm on the air at the Fan, and he walks off the field with the trainer, which is normal, and a coach. And he's walking fine. It may as well have been you and me. And I'm like, okay, then it looks like he's playing. All of a sudden, it's like, boom, Kellen Clemens. I'm like, uh-oh. And then the number. It's funny, though, because if Sam Bradford's worth 3.5 points, what is a Tom Brady worth? You know? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then they probably sit there and go, well, Jimmy Garoppolo isn't that much of a drop down compared to, Kellen Clemens and so forth. But it was amazing to watch the entire screens just go boom, boom, boom. There was even a 10 on the board, too.
It doesn't surprise me. Well, let's go through some of that action here on rawmackrichards.com. Taking a look at the National Football League on Sunday, September the 17th. Dave, it started with divisional rivals, the Browns, the Ravens. The Ravens wearing purple like you are now. Yes. Not unlike Prince did before he overdosed when he saw himself in the mirror and decided, I look like a rat. Dave.
Is that what he did? Eh?
Absolutely.
News at this one, Deshaun Kaiser leaves the game with a migraine, so he kind of fits in now with the rest of the Cleveland Brown fan faithful because there's been a lot of migraines being Browns fans throughout the last 25, 35 years. So he leaves the game after 3 interceptions and complaining of migraines. Kevin Hogan comes in, who was slotted as the backup in this game. The Browns did nothing, and again, we see
Hogan.
Yeah, we see the same sort of instances of what the Ravens did to the Bengals in Week 1. The defense looked solid.
Yeah.
Picked off quarterbacks of the Browns 4 times.
You know, it's
just eight interceptions in 2 games. That's awesome.
It looks like that the Raven defense from the last 3-4 years. You know,
that looks. The only thing they're missing is Ray Lewis.
Yeah,
but they don't have Ray Lewis.
But it certainly feels that way. So, and once again, just for the accuracy, 24-10, 34 points. That was an under. I don't think that game didn't start off at 33.
No,
that's an under. Speaking of unders, hello, Buffalo and Carolina. That was just, I'm sorry, an awful, awful football game. It's hard to watch a 9-3 game. For the Bills defensively, yeah, that's kind of all they have, really. I mean, what do you expect from Taylor? He's 1 hit away probably from sitting on the bench. They had some chances, but the Panthers, even with their kind of adjusted offense, look really average in beating the Bills by 6 points.
Yeah, and you know what? 6-0 for the Panthers going into the 4th quarter. This was a sleeper throughout. Cam Newton doesn't look like he has the timing down properly. I'm not sure who they want running the ball because they used 3 different backs. And for the most part, it's a Buffalo team that was just unable to create first downs and move the ball because a touchdown would have won this game for them.
Yes.
And they just simply could not do that. LaShawn McCoy, only 34 yards rushing. He was a 0 factor in this one. And it's funny, with a little bit of luck, the Bills may have been 2-0 going to Week 3.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that?
I don't disagree with that at all. And some of the play calling in the red zone by Carolina, I mean, I get that you don't want to see Cam Newton just take off and run. That's what you're trying to avoid. But at some point, you got to be more creative than that. Or at least have an offensive line that can get you a couple of yards. That was brutal. Speaking of other teams that continue to grind away and be brutal, the Cardinals on the road. Now, granted, the Cards, that's 2 weeks in a row on the road. I know that's in the gambling world. You kind of look at that a little bit. But generally, just my feeling with the Cards on the road, I ain't touching it. So guys who were looking for that, it was like minus 7.5 for Arizona on the road.
Yep.
As much as the Colts have been horrific and don't have an offense, you cannot take the minus 7.5 with the Cardinals. They rally just to beat a really subpar Colts team 16-13 in overtime.
Subpar is being nice too. The way they actually handled this team, because you look at it, the Colts were actually leading 10-3 going into the 4th quarter, and you thought, wow, okay, this Cardinals team is a lot worse than what I actually thought they were, because you're missing David Johnson, which is key. Part of their offensive line, 2 out of the 5 starters out with injury, so there's some key misses here. But even that said, they got nothing from Larry Fitzgerald yesterday. Fitzgerald, 3 catches, 21 yards. That was almost a virtual no-show.
Yeah.
In a game where they probably should have been able to handle an Andrew Luckless team with the Colts, because the Colts are a bottom feeder without their star quarterback.
Do you think guys are saying that on the line, like going, guess you got no luck? Are you looking for, what I mean? We get it.
In a Pee Wee Herman voice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I guess you were looking for luck today, but you don't have any. Ha ha. There'll be guys like, what was he talking about? By the way, if you took the over in the Titans in the Jags game, you'd be 2 for 2 if that's the way you did it.
Yeah, well, you would.
But if you
pick the under
and the Jags, that's a bad day. That's 2 wrong on the same game. I don't think I've ever done that.
No, it's hard to get 2 bets wrong on the same game.
You have to be especially good at not being good to do that. But that's how it was, 37-16.
Titans score 31 points in the second half, which was just a dominant performance by a team that a lot of people thought were going to be part of that division lead. And you know what? They're showing why a lot of people thought that with this win.
You had a Chiefs-Eagles game that got off, again, another 6-3 at the half. It opened up, and finally by the fourth quarter, again, these are just signs to me that the longer the first-team offense stays out there, I'm looking at all the fourth quarters. For a lot of these teams, the fourth quarter was the biggest scoring quarter. And I just think by the time you get to – I think we'll see a market correction week 3, Dave, after now 3 real weeks of practice, first-team offense, first-team defense, and I think you'll see maybe an evening of how things work out. But so far, I think you have to hand it to the Chiefs. Chiefs defensively play pretty good. They do enough to win. And for Alex Smith, this is a real line in the sand for him. I'm not saying it was because of him they win that game, but they beat an Eagles team that I think this year a lot of people thought could do some damage.
Yep, no, that's exactly it. You look at this Chiefs team, they're going to be contenders in their conference, not only the division, but the Eagles. It's funny. Going into this game, Carson Wentz has not lost a game in September, which is truly remarkable.
That's weird.
He was 4-0 as a starter. Yeah. He went 3-0 out of the gate last year. He won last week. Didn't win this week, but this Eagles team is gonna threaten the Giants. Gonna probably more than threaten the Redskins. They already beat them. And watch out, Cowboys, because I think you got another team in the mix, and which is probably one of the tougher divisions to actually call at the end of it. The thing I like about the Chiefs that we haven't seen in typical Chiefs fashion in the past, they have some real playmakers on the offensive side. When we've thought about the Chiefs in the past, we've thought about the running game and your Christian Okoyes and your Jamal Charles and guys like that.
Yeah.
No. When you look at a guy like Kareem Hunt,
out of Toledo, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And right now, for a lot of people's money, the rookie of the year through 2 games, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, who's catching little Doug Flutie.
Yeah, if you got him, I would think fantasy-wise, wow, that's got to be a fine too.
Yeah, so this Chiefs offense is actually a lot of fun to watch, and don't be surprised if you're seeing the Chiefs in a conference final knocking on the door of the Patriots or Raiders at the end of it.
Looking at a team that you knew were going to bounce back, I didn't, if they were giving you under a touchdown, how did you not take the Patriots? I think every single person you had to have taken that, right? 36-20. The game was never really that close. I mean, there's a late touchdown to even make it look even closer than what it was, but that was never close. That's Brady being back. But the big news out of that game, I'm sure, as Gronk leaves and everybody else going into next week against Houston, I just don't know who's playing receiver. They're going to have to find some guys. Now, are they good at it? No one's been better at piecing together that system, that puzzle, that the genius of Bill Belichick, how he makes that work all the time. But this is a real press, Dave. I mean, and they should actually be thankful that it's Houston that they get. If it was a team that had some power, they simply cannot get into a track meet because they just don't have enough athletes to do that.
No, exactly. The couple reports, Rob Gronkowski was asked to talk about the game afterwards and talk about of injury. He said he's good and then smiled at a reporter. So we don't know exactly what the circumstance of the hamstring. Yeah. We probably won't know today either because there will not be a practice. There'll just be the traditional Bill Belichick press conference, and we kind of know how that goes, don't we?
Yeah, we're on to Houston.
But do you think that you'll have?
Yeah, that's great. We play Houston next week, so Houston's in the state of Texas. Anything else?
Nope. Dick.
And walk out the door.
Yeah, fuck off.
What was that?
Nothing. Fuck you, Dick. Steelers 26-9 with a Minnesota offense that really, I mean, once Bradford went down, what are you going to do? I'm still hoping we see Teddy Bridgewater, because in terms of a football fan, my idea of watching the Vikings once he comes into the league was to see this quarterback who's a real, Jesse Palmer did this big interview with Teddy Bridgewater when he was at Louisville, and it was like, this guy's IQ is unbelievable. I don't want to see Sam Bradford, but you didn't yesterday anyway. So 26-9, very pedestrian, and once again, that would have been an under.
An under, exactly. And we don't have any word on whatchamacallit, Sam Bradford going into week 3, so we'll have to see about that.
Because what do you got, like Case Keenum?
Yeah, my guess would be that Bradford does play in week 3, but we'll have to see on that. More on Bridgewater's situation. There are some reports that he might be ready as far as health-wise to join the roster again by mid-season. because the injury was horrific.
Yeah.
At least it was the kind of situation where people thought he may never ever play football, and let alone have a hard time walking again for the rest of his life, never mind just playing football. But we'll see what happens with Teddy Bridgewater, but that'd be nice to see him back in a Vikings uniform.
As that song continues, I thought maybe we better change it up, because it's like the wheel of weird music that we're allowed to play where we don't get boned by some weird composer we've never heard of. So let's see. Yeah, not bad. I can live with that.
Yeah, we're good.
So moving right along, taking a look at other scores, the Buccaneers, that game was never in doubt ever.
No.
29-7, and see that's what burns me. That's what I should have been on.
Yeah,
that's what I truly should have been on.
Buccaneers were 7-point favorites when this game closed at 1:00 Eastern time, and this game was pretty much over by the end of the first quarter.
Absolutely.
Halftime they led 26-0. And they kind of, let the foot off the gas, allowed the Bears to actually score that touchdown in the fourth quarter. But for the most part, Mike Evans was Mike Evans. Jameis Winston continues to build and get better and better.
Yeah,
Jameis Winston is turning into a real quarterback.
Well, I think the one thing, Dave, in looking at that draft, so of course it was the, what is he? FIFHITP.
Yes.
Okay. I know it's wrong, Mike Richards. It's still, it's kind of tough to just shout that out. So there's all these questions about his maturity. It was more about, his could he be a professional? The fact remains at Florida State that they run a pro-style offense. So the moment that he gets drafted, and stays in the state of Florida in what they were trying to build with Tampa Bay, this actually was a bit of a no-brainer for a lot of people, and I think a lot of football scouts, a lot of those in the know with NFL football. Mariota was the one they didn't know because it was such a freak show with that read option out of Oregon with Chip Kelly. That's the one who had to make sort of a bigger adjustment. So for a lot of football people, I'll say this. I don't think it's a surprise at all. And I think for Jameis Winston to walk in and run the kind of offense they have in Tampa Bay, you should have expected this. This is not a surprise to me. It will be interesting to see how good they can be, Dave, because, again, I still say that football, and like a lot of sports, you need to create that culture of winning. That still does not exist in Tampa Bay. They're not used to winning, but there is an expectation this year that they'll win. Looking at a game that I had no idea, didn't even touch it, the Dolphins at the Chargers, because it's the Dolphins' first game, they win 19-17.
Yeah, 19-17, and you know what? Good for the Dolphins on getting off to the start. They were 4-point dogs when this game closed, and the Chargers can look to themselves and say, man, with a little bit of luck, with a little bit of, extra football gods on their side, they could be 2-0 right now. You lose 2 points to the Dolphins when you had a chance to win on a last-second kick. You lose by 3 points to the Denver Broncos on Monday night when your kicker could have kicked it to send it to overtime. So there's a lot going wrong there. Just the little mistakes are hurting them. Phillip Rivers, incredible game, 31 for 39, 331 yards.
Every year.
Not his fault.
Yeah, every year he has this unbelievable quarterback rating, which, depending on how you gauge that, it doesn't mean everything to me, because I'll tell you, you have to win. He every year has an incredible quarterback rating.
Mm-hmm.
His teams don't win.
Nope.
And so that becomes, if you're a fantasy guy, you take him. But if you it's not his fault, but he's on a team that just doesn't win. To me, that's where you see some of that frustration that comes out for him. I don't think he's that. I mean, it's not Ryan Leaf immature sort of level.
No.
I just think it's a frustration to a guy who plays at an extremely high level, and his teams just don't win. By the way, 45-20, the Raiders, that game to me, even though the Jets kind of, after they scored that 10 points in the second quarter, I'm like,
It surprised me.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
Get off my back. Marshawn Lynch ran for a touchdown, hometown boy. But the thing that I guess pissed everyone off, I don't know why, was his dancing on the sideline to the song that says I'm from Oakland or whatever. For some reason, the Jets wanted to make issue with it. Some of the fans talked about it. I'm like, it's a football game.
Yeah.
He's dancing on the sideline because his team's winning and he's from Oakland. The song's about Oakland. What the fuck are you mad about? Get over yourself. That's stupid, Dave.
It's so true. And it's like, if you're the Jets, just shut up and leave.
I wouldn't say a goddamn thing.
You know what I mean? You're the
It's
Jets.
embarrassing.
You won't be winning a game this year. Okay, you might win one. But the thing that pissed me off the most about this one was from a betting perspective. Okay, so I had the Raiders minus the 14. That was in the books. That's not a big deal to me. The thing that bugged me the most was I had alternative lines on this. And when I looked on sportsinteraction.com on side bets, you can kind of pick how many points you'll win by. And the highest paid one was 36 plus, so 36 or more points, and it paid 26 to 1.
Yeah.
So I put down $5 thinking, okay,
I like those ones. I do.
Exactly. So here's, for anybody that missed the game, and shame on you for missing the blowout, the Raiders were up by 29 points in the fourth quarter with 6.5 minutes left.
Yeah.
The Jets, fire in a meaningless touchdown to reduce that to, I guess that would be 22 points. If the Jets don't score there, the Raiders would actually get the ball with 5 minutes left and the potential of a touchdown to hit my 36, which would have been a fantastic payday.
Completely, by the way, speaking like a better at this point.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with, the team wanting to win, take knees, and I was like, no, go, kick a field goal or kick 3 field goals. Like, do something.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the most disappointing part. I hit this at halftime because I had Raiders minus the 7.5, which worked out great because with 30 seconds left, the Jets boggled a kickoff that bounced off the hands, and it ended up being Raiders 1st and 10 on the 4, which they scored the touchdown to cover my number in the first half. I got the first half number, got the second half number, but didn't get my 36 plus, which would have been a nice bonus.
By the way, Derek Carr, 23 of 28, 230 yards, so just efficient. Really, it's not a stellar, but when you have,
you know what? It didn't pass as much as I thought he was.
No,
going to. I thought he was going to really air it. I thought he was going to hit 400 yards.
That's why I was, kind of hold my breath for a little bit. Realized Michael Crabtree, by the way, who caught all 3 of those touchdowns, looked pretty good. Who also looked good? The Denver Broncos, and was it Trevor Siemian? He was the best quarterback on that field. There's no question. Really good. Really good.
Yeah, really good. And you know what? Don't look now, but Trevor Siemian is 2-0. He has a decent offense that he manages, and a defense,
and a great defense,
which is like top 3.
Back to Orange Crush days.
It really seems like it. It really seems like it because a lot of people, including myself, were down on the Denver Broncos. I had the Denver Broncos to finish 3rd in this division because I thought the Raiders and the Chiefs are much better. I'm still going to say the Raiders and Chiefs are much better, but we could see a circumstance that 3 teams in that Western division will make the postseason, and because of the way Denver's playing, I'm not going to be surprised by it.
Trevor Siemian, some might know from Northwestern, so depending on the year,
7th round pick.
7th round, so overall 250th. Because you're always looking for those stories and those finds. As a football franchise, you want to, it's the diamond in the rough kind of stuff. It's, look what we got, a late round like starting quarterback. You know what? He's that guy. And you know what? The one thing about Northwestern, he's not stupid.
Nope.
So maybe they've got something there. And but for Zeke Elliott, and did not look the body language on the sideline not great. Was it LaDainian Tomlinson that kind of went after him a little bit?
I think it was him.
Yeah. So if you've got Zeke Elliott, not only was it not a great performance, but he's probably going to play the whole year. By the way. I think when it comes to suspension,
it's going to be a Tom Brady suspension.
Yeah, it will be like the beginning of next year. Yeah, which it's just so weird to some of the talk. Some of it I don't get. And then the game, of course, I don't want to talk about. You can show, by the way, that ticket again that causes so much pain for me. Seahawks 12, 49ers 9. Don't hurt yourself. I mean, I know we covered that quite a bit. You know what? Don't even show the ticket now. Yeah, okay, show it. Change my mind. What am I, Sybil? Do it. Don't do it. I'm my own girlfriend. Look at that. Look at all those wins. Unbelievable. Look at some of the numbers on that. And I had to I'm not making that mistake this week. But that's what every bettor says every Monday.
Yep.
Oh, they won't get I won't make that mistake again.
Yeah.
As I said every bettor every time. Oh well. I will get after this time. And so who do the Seahawks play next week?
Seahawks schedule. Yeah.
Let's just take a look. Because see, now you're mad.
Well,
now you do something emotional that has nothing to do with the game. Already, I'm going to bet against them. I'm going to bet against them.
Well, not only do I want to bet against Seattle, I want to go out and buy a Tennessee Titans jersey because they're in Tennessee. Tennessee 2.5-point favorites.
Okay.
And guess what, Seattle?
Yeah.
This is your line in the sand because the Titans are a better team, in my opinion, through 2 weeks of the season. And I think the Titans are going to eat up that offensive line of the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
So we'll see what you can actually do against this sort of team because you're not playing the 49ers this week.
No.
You're playing a team that's going to win a division.
Suck it. Suck it.
So let's get Tennessee Titan jerseys.
Yeah, well, who suck it? Who was that, the wrestling?
That was DX. That was D-Generation X with Triple H and the Heartbreak Kid and
Suck it.
and X-Pac and yeah.
I'm into that now.
Yeah, there you
I
go.
have to get that clip then.
Well, when it comes to that.
Yeah. Falcons beat the Packers 34-23. That game at times was actually kind of the kind of football on a Sunday night you were sort of looking for.
Yep, I love the way it
At
started
least in
off.
one half it did.
Yeah, I like the way it started off. The first half seemed, okay when you flipped it over at halftime to see what else is on TV. It looked like the Falcons were in full control. Remember, they took advantage of that nice interception right at the end of the half and scored the touchdown too on the offensive changeover. So it really was a nice score for the Falcons in this situation. And when you break down all the numbers and see the Packers actually scored 13 in the fourth, the score itself is a little generous,
Flattering, a little
Packers,
flattering,
a little
yeah.
flattering
Yeah.
towards the Falcons or towards the Packers, I should say.
By the way, so we talk about what's available on Sunday nights, and so sometimes you have to fight, Game of Thrones and stuff like that. That wasn't on.
Nope.
But there's a show on HBO
Uh-oh.
with James Franco
Oh.
called Deuce. Have you people seen this yet?
I've not seen it.
Roast beef, you're going to love this. You are going to completely love this. A look at life in New York City during the 70s, like the dirty area, and 80s, when porn and prostitution were rampant in Manhattan. It stars James Franco.
Okay.
He plays, I think, like his own twin brother, one of those. But it looks fantastic. I only saw the first half hour, I want to say, of the or so of the pilot. It looks outstanding. If you know what I mean, and tweet to me too, because I'm telling you, it's one of those shows, Dave. It just has the feel of being awesome, like truly an awesome
Okay.
series.
And yesterday was episode 1.
Was 2. So
That's
the
2.
last night was episode 2.
And it's called Deuce.
Deuce.
Okay.
Oh,
it's
you got to watch
It's easy
that.
to find, to see, the previous shows on whatever it's called.
Crave.
There's Crave and there's something else.
I
I thought there was like an archives version, or is that Crave?
Crave is that one.
That's it? Okay.
That's the Bell one, and then the
I
Rogers
have-
one is something
I have,
different.
I have Rogers, but I thought Rogers just had an archive of HBO.
Yeah, you can do that. It will be
Yeah.
on there. So if you missed the series, but I see every time you start doing that, those kinds of series where you go back, it's like those movies. What was it? The American Hustle.
Yes.
And stuff like that.
Yep.
You kind of get into it a little bit, right? And they're able to almost recreate. Now this one, it starts in 1971. The dirtiness of Manhattan. So that was the old Peep shows. It's just really grimy and disgusting. The sweat and urine and semen. It's one of those kinds of shows, which gets a dirt bag like me. I get all excited. And I'm all. My wife comes and she goes, "What are you doing? You look like you're all." Go, "Oh, nothing. Just flick it over." And there's Rogers' incomplete pass. I'm just, you. Come on, Green Bay, catch a pass. Oh, no, it's great stuff. And what was it? Gyllenhaal. Is it Maggie?
Okay.
What's his name's? Is that roast beef? Yeah, you know. You watch that show, right?
He knows.
Yeah, you do.
He's into semen and urine.
Yeah, he told me that. Yeah, here we go.
Ready for. Well,
What'd you do in the weekend, by the way, roast beef? Why don't you come over here and
yeah, wear your hat too, by the way.
yeah, let's have the hat once again, courtesy of our friends at Sam Adams. Samuel Adams, Oktoberfest. Just like I always think of Boston. What? So what'd you do? Because you're upset about the Lupul thing. Yeah, aren't you? You're upset that Lupul has called the Leafs cheaters because that's the team you you love them.
Not upset. No. I mean, a little hurt to play, so
But are you hurt by those comments? Your beloved, I mean,
He is. He
Yeah.
is.
What's
he's grabbing his own mic so I can
yeah.
join this conversation.
No, it's just, he's on the wrong camera. He's got to get himself on camera. Yeah, see, Dave, that's how that works.
He's the skinny Levine.
Yeah, he's been practicing all weekend in his bedroom. Well, actually, Mike, according to this broadcaster, so what's the problem? What's the problem? What's Lupul saying? What is the damage here?
Well, he's saying that they're cheating the physical process.
Right.
No!
Yeah. No team has ever done that.
No, but I don't know. Because I see him on Instagram. This is where he posted those comments and all that. He doesn't look in shape for the hockey season.
You're saying Joffrey Lupul doesn't?
He does not.
Oh.
So
He could be watching this.
he could be.
Yeah.
He's
you little
hey, I loved him. I loved him when he was healthy.
Too late now, Dick.
Recess, you're fucking dead. You are dead.
Loved
Your mom
him-
not getting you now, bitch.
loved
Joffrey
him
Lupul
when he
talks
was
like that?
healthy, but I don't know. He doesn't look in shape.
Do you
and
believe in this? Was it Robot Island with them when they talk like that, or does that make you upset too?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Okay, this is
Like,
this is
lose
some
a little.
this
like,
is some tremendous insight.
No,
I mean, I
lo-
thought this was
lose
your one
just-
big moment.
lose a little.
Let me ask you a question,
Yeah.
Roast Beef.
Yeah.
So if you're on a travel site and you see an all-inclusive trip to Robida Island, are you clicking yes to
Yeah.
that
Are you go-
immediately?
Yeah,
I mean,
no, pulling it closer.
feels pretty nice. I mean, like
Feels nice.
get paid a couple million.
Yeah, yeah, you're on it. Okay, you get back to your spot now, ladies and gentlemen. Roast beef. Yeah, that's it. There you go. Yeah.
He's getting me in the mood for
Yeah, that is.
for something hateful.
Yeah,
Mike.
it's like, yeah. By the way, in just moments, we're gonna have Hateful Eight, Dave Bastel. You know those islands. You know how they talk about that stuff. The moment that the other Mike Richards, apparently, and along with Carter,
Dry Island.
I'm going Dry Island.
That place sucks.
I don't care what Mike Richards you're talking about, or even Michael Richards before he had a racist meltdown. None of us, none of the no Richies are going to ever be found on Dry Island. Dry Island. Like, why would, you know how stupid that sounds? Like,
Yep.
if you're a professional athlete and they're trying to implement something and they call it Dry Island, what's the first thing you're doing? I'm just getting hammered.
Yeah.
I'm coming. All right, guys.
I'd come with a shirt. Dry Island.
Yeah. Near Coach Frank. The Deuce is incredible, but only when little Christian goes to bed. Yeah, it's not a show for babies.
No.
Oh, by the way, speaking of, didn't I see him in a mini Ferrari?
Yes.
Like a remote control Ferrari? So he can't watch TV, but you put him, what is he, one?
Yes, he just turned one. And
In a car? The 1-year-old's in this remote controlled car that's it's a Ferrari. That's safe.
The great part about that video is the camera work on it too. It's fantastic.
I'm going, what am I looking at?
It's like you're watching the Blair Witch.
Oh, look. It's baby in a car. Baby in a car.
Well, no, because when they shot him, it's like here's just his body, and here's the side. Oh, he's missing his left shoulder.
Yeah.
Oh, now he's.
Yeah. I see this little head. Like it looked like a little Stewie, you know, from Family Guy.
Well, he's a good-looking kid,
Yeah.
but I mean, if you're gonna shoot the video, show the kid.
Yeah, show the kid. They were throwing this little advice for you. Before we get to the Hateful Eight, actually some nice things that we did on the weekend. I was asked to go to my hometown of Stouffville, Ontario, where they had one of the Terry Fox runs that take place across the country. They brought my parents in to actually come and see this thing. Now, as you'll see if you're watching the pictures, there was over 1,000 people. Good for the town. Jim Mason, who's been a long-time reporter for our newspapers up there in that part of the world, who's one of the nicest guys ever, just does a fantastic job. I got up there to tell my story. Now, I've not been in my hometown in quite some time, and when it comes to talking about cancer survival, it's a very difficult subject for me only because I can think off the top of my head, in my own family, 3 of my most favorite people on the entire planet aren't here. So, Dave, when I get up there sometimes, I'm a little uncomfortable talking about it because there's a little bit of guilt that goes on, for me anyways, personally. And I don't profess, to have this huge, big, major fight. I got it caught in time only because I was so delinquent in getting my own colonoscopy that it almost cost me my life, Dave. So there's a part of it to me I almost feel, even though I know it's not true, but you feel like a bit of a fraud. So there's a real conflict when I talk about this kind of stuff, even though I went through it. But they call all these people, I don't know if we've got that picture as well, but they're in these red T-shirts. Everyone who was in a red T-shirt was a cancer survivor. And I think it's the picture before there, Roast Beef, if you can see on the stage. Oh, maybe not. I think again a little bit. Yeah, that's... But anyway, so I had to get up there, and as I started speaking, I broke down, like right off the top. But I think it had a lot to do with some of the great families that I grew up with in that town park, which was, you know, everyone has their happy place. For me, that's where the arena was. It's no longer there. It was one of the old classic barns. It's gone. That's hard for me to go into that town. My high school's gone. Like everything that was something that I grew up in and spent between the high school gym and the arena. That's my entire life.
That is.
It's your entire life.
Child life.
And they're gone.
Decades of
They're gone. So that was in the town park. They've raised a little town of Stouffville somewhere around $1.8 million.
Awesome.
But, and Terry Fox never would have thought this way because when he did it, he was alone. And as I said yesterday, there was no Facebook. There wasn't Twitter. There wasn't Instagram. When he started in Newfoundland back in 1980, nobody knew who he was until he got to Ontario. It was big from going through Toronto up to Thunder Bay, and he couldn't go any further, where the cancer metastasizes, goes into his lungs, and he never goes beyond that. But what he did is bring to the surface the need to raise money to fight this wretched disease that has decimated our families, our friends, our children, our grandparents, husbands, wives. It's just destroyed entire families. But because of his attempt at doing what he did to this date, it's almost $1 billion, Dave.
That's amazing.
$1 billion. And for that, he is a hero. I'm using the word hero, which, by the way, gets thrown around way too easily and way too much. But for a true Canadian hero, Terry Fox is one.
Yeah, well done, well done. That was it's funny you talk about the Terry Fox run. I still remember doing it as a kid, and then this last week, Marissa got a little envelope from school saying, you know, to place your donation in for a Terry Fox run. It was her first ever Terry Fox run. I'm like, that is so awesome.
Incredible.
And I hope her kids continue this fantastic tradition here in Canada. And yeah, he is truly an outstanding Canadian hero, and it's nice that you were able to, you know, give back to, you know, Stouffville and have that kind of ceremony and speak. And it's tough speaking about personal things like that, and you kind of look around and you kind of think how lucky you are where other people haven't been as lucky.
Exactly.
And well done, and we're glad you're here too.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons why in doing Raw Mike Richards, it allows Dave and myself to represent things that we think are important, which is why, you know, us representing Epilepsy Canada is close to us. It's not tied to sport. Will we have athletes that indeed will participate in the things we talk about? Absolutely, 100% it will. But this is the kind of vehicle where we have that kind of freedom. There's no corporate ties to anything. We can do what we want. And that's why, Dave, also on Saturday, you were at something.
Yeah, I was emceeing an event at Sick Kids Hospital. Cardiac Kids and Jeff Neiman put together an annual thing where the siblings of chronically ill children that actually attend the hospital are kind of celebrated on the day, because as a lot of people can guess, when a family is affected by something like this and their little one is in the hospital, the sibling doesn't get a lot of attention anymore, doesn't get a lot of, you know, day-to-day nurturing that actually happens in day-to-day life, because they're worried about the child that's in the hospital. And this was a day to celebrate the sibling of the I guess the sick kid, for lack of better words, and to, you know, let him and her know that you're just as big of a part of a family, and how important you are, and your patience and everything else that goes into it. Because a lot of times, and I'm very fortunate that I haven't been in this situation, but when a child is in the hospital, mom and dad is visiting that child or staying with the child because of what the child's going through. Meanwhile, the sibling's at home with a family member or a babysitter, and sometimes gets the feeling of neglect, which nobody should ever feel that way. So this was a ceremony to celebrate them and to remind them that, you know, they're extra special for and extra strong for going through such a measure, and reading some of the stories, because I had to call the family up.
Oh, that's tough.
And then one of the family parents wrote a card about what the child means to them. So I'm reading their words to them, and you could guess how sensitive that is.
That's a tough one, man.
And reading 25 of them in a row, and it's like, oh boy, you know, you guys are getting me here with some of this writing, but it was awesome. They had a catered lunch and handed out you know, little certificates and that, and for the most part, it was a great event. It really was.
You know, it's when you have to do these things, and especially if you're known for being like a funny show, which for most of the 30 years, that's kind of how it's always been seen. Years ago when I was at the Fan, so there's myself and John Derringer, and, you know, so we were going to actually Linehead, where we did our OHL Steelheads.
Great golf course, yeah.
Held a lot of functions there, and I was there all the time. And the Cito Gaston dinners, where you get up and I'd MC that stuff. And there was one. It was like the Steelworkers, and it's very broad, right? And it's a huge industry, and it was money that was going to be spent for not the Children's Aid Society. It was the one where they take them on trips.
Okay.
Where, you know, sort of the trip of a lifetime, that kind of stuff. So very often it's down to like Disneyland or Disney World. It was one of those kinds of things. And this one of the young girls who was probably, I don't know, she probably was, you know, 11, 12 years old, this real cute little girl. So I go up and I do all my stuff, and she was laughing and clapping louder than anybody else. And she said, you know, you should be on Saturday Night Live. And I said, well, if I'm going to be on Saturday Night Live, then you have to come down. She goes, so I can be your girlfriend, you can be my girlfriend, I'll be your boyfriend. And something was coming up that I thought I could invite her to so she could see. And then someone had to take me aside and said, well, if it's beyond September, she was not going to make it.
Wow. That's
I went out and I almost did it again, and bawled my eyes out in the car when it was over, because I'm hugging her and see you later. And she goes, you're my boyfriend. And I'm like, the people who work in those areas that handle that stuff on a regular basis really are angels. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how my surgeon did it, when, you know, because now my surgeon, Shadi Ashamala, here's what he says. But I am colorectal, and I have 80 and 90% chances, because of what I do for a living, that they're going to make it. It's rare that it doesn't for me. Yeah. Like, he goes, there are other specialties where, once you get that word cancer, you know, it's 10, 20, 30% chance. His is like almost 90%. Right. If you get it in time, which is why, again, you know, obviously on a serious side here of what we do, but get yourself checked. It really, I know as a guy, I'm like, I don't want to do that. Well, if I'd done that maybe one for another year or so, I'm not here today. I'm not wearing that red T-shirt as a survivor.
That's right.
I'm not making it, and it would have been my fault. My fault. So if you're thinking about it and they go, okay, yeah, you're supposed to do it when you're 50, I'm telling you, why wait? If you're 45, do it. If
Mike, I did it because of you.
Yeah.
I did, and they said the same thing, because I walked in there on the clinic at Holly Street, and the doctor kind of smiles, shakes my hand, and says, "You're way too young to be here." And I said, "I realize that, but I have a close friend that went through something like this, and my brother was also, who's younger than I am because of the job he does with firefighters. They're actually told to get this in their early 40s."
Really? So the early 40s.
Just because of what they come in contact with on a day-to-day basis.
What's the harm in going early?
No,
there isn't
exactly.
Any.
So I said, you know what? I just want to be safe, because I got
you got two little girls.
I got a lot on the line, right? And that's exactly it. So everything, knock on wood, was good. And he said, well, we'll see you in 7 or 8 years or whatever it works out to. And I'm like, you'll probably see me soon.
Yeah, you're gonna see him soon. Yeah, that's how it's gonna be.
But you know what? It's you have the opportunity to live in this country that you can get the help a lot faster than you can anywhere else. And some people sit there and say, oh, it's a 1 month wait or whatever. It's like, then do it now and get in there in October, whatever it is, because it is worth it. And sometimes the peace of mind of something like that,
well, that's what we're talking about,
is the reason why you do sort of thing.
You're listening and watching rawmikeRichards.com, not only on the website, but also, of course, on the dedicated YouTube channel. It is the way that we are moving forward, and we hope that you're doing it. Here's another one from Coach Frank. Said, I'm proud to say my dad went and got checked because of you. You told him to, and you know him. Pete is stubborn. That's Coach Frank's dad. A great guy too, by the way. Awesome parents and
awesome family.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
And we're lucky.
And Nicole.
Yeah.
Good on you there, Coach Frank.
No, exactly.
People would stop me in Sunnybrook and tell me about that. You get all emotional about it, right? They said, I'm here because I saw you on Canada AM, because I saw what you did on TSN 1050. So we're pleased with that. To break it up before we get to some other stuff, because we're going to lighten it up a little bit. You know that bat in Irish kitchen equals funny.
Yes.
Here's what also happens. Irish man looking for packet of soup, so the dry package.
Yep.
But if you can't find it,
oh boy,
there's also hilarity that ensues.
The fucking madness of life. Not a fucking packet of fucking soup. Wreck the shop. Wreck the fucking shop.
Wreck the shop. He's talking about the kitchen.
Nothing.
For soup.
Probably could you relax, would you?
I want the fucking thing, and I can't find the fucking. Can't find the fucking thing. I want the bloody thing.
Oh, hey, this pots and pans he's punching.
The fucking thing's gone. Fucking appear.
Appear. That's what he's saying. It's a soup package.
Soup gone. Now a rat taking me whole fucking hole. I'm not allowed to have anything in life. Not allowed. Just take them from you, just like that. You go out and buy it and it's fucked off. Not on. Not so fucking on.
A soccer game in the background. You could hear it.
Who would have thought?
That's him stamping his feet, by the way.
Fuck off. Where are you?
Okay. Oh. That's yeah. Is that okay? That's boy. I never thought soup was that important. I got to be honest. That makes people mad.
Must be good soup, eh?
Out of a package, Dave.
Well, those are the best.
How good is that soup? Okay, now here's something that we're going to do for you that Dave Bastel was doing before even the movie of the same title came out. So before people say,
this is weird, eh?
Hey, don't they do this or don't they do it on this station? I can tell you Dave was the first one who did this, simply because on this show, not unlike that Irish man, on a Monday, we're angry. We're pissed off over something that happened on a Sunday. And what do you think that is? Oh, it's all about the NFL. So, for the first time on rawmikeRichards.com, I am thrilled to present this.
And now it's time for Dave Bastel's Hateful Eight.
Oh, that sounds pretty hateful. I better pick it up here, eh? Okay, in no particular order, the Hateful Eight. And I had to really reduce this down to 8 because I had around 16, to tell you the truth, but the Hateful 16 just doesn't sound the same thing. So let's start off with the Bills and Panthers. Thanks for wasting my Sunday 1 o'clock game with 4 field goals. 4 field goals. Unbelievable how terrible these offenses were. This shouldn't have even been allowed to be televised on national TV, but 4 field goals? That's garbage. Next up, Chargers kicker, and I may be wrong with his pronunciation, but Younghoe Koo.
Otherwise known as shit.
That might be the nickname for him, because first off, in week 1, he misses the game-tying field goal for the Chargers. And yesterday, with no time left, he misses the game-winning field goal. The Chargers could have been 2-0, but this guy who missed 1 field goal in the NCAA has already missed 2 field goals that would have been game winners or tires in his first pro season. Pretty soon, he's going to be walking King Street East looking for cigarettes because he's not going to be kicking for the San Diego Chargers.
Suck it!
Next up, Jimmy Graham. Remember when Jimmy Graham was this stud tight end for the Saints and Drew Brees' favorite weapon, and he's Gronk Jr., so to speak, maybe even tempting with Gronk because he was that good. 6'7", 270, big dude. He goes to the Seahawks and he turns into complete garbage. Yesterday, 1 catch for 1 yard. Don't hurt yourself against one of the worst defenses in football. 1 catch, 1 yard. Are you kidding me? And in week 1, couple catches for 8 yards. Wow, Jimmy Graham and his $10 million contract has gained 9 yards in his first 2 games, and the Seahawks are absolute garbage.
Thanks, Dix.
Speaking of the Seahawks, that leads me into the team. My first team I'm going to hate is the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
1-1 so far. 12 points scored against San Francisco. 8 points scored against Green Bay. Don't hurt yourself, Super Bowl contenders.
Oh.
This is the worst offensive line in the world. Not just the NFL,
Wow.
the world. This is terrible. And you know what? I'm looking forward to the Tennessee Titans beating you down next weekend
Yeah.
in Music City.
So good.
Next up, those are good tie-ins. I like that. Jacksonville. Nice opening week. You go to Houston. Everybody's wanting you to lose. You don't lose. You come home. Everybody's wanting you to win, and you get annihilated. Thanks for coming out in the second half, allowing 31 points against to lose. Jacksonville, still Jacksonville, as long as you have those stupid-ass helmets. Next up, it's the Bears being the Bears. You know what? I'll never get tired of watching the Bears get beat down because when I was a kid, I used to watch the Bears beat on everybody.
Yeah.
And Walter Payton beat on everybody. And Jim McMahon, the cool guy with the headband, beat on everybody. Well, that hasn't happened in decades. And with this quarterback they have in place and this play caller they actually have in place, the Bears are going to remain crap, and I love it. Next up, Zeke Elliott. It's almost like he's playing like he is suspended because when you carry the ball 9 times, you don't expect to see 8 yards total beside his name. He didn't show up in the Mile High City. Maybe he was Mile High somewhere else, but Zeke Elliott, if you're going to play like this, just sit out your suspension because you're not doing anybody any good, especially the Dallas Cowboys. And finally, my final team, part of the Hateful Eight, and maybe the biggest hate of them all, the Cincinnati Bengals. 3 field goals in 2 weeks. You get your offensive coordinator fired. You got plenty of weapons in the running back position. You have plenty of weapons in the wide receiver position, including one of the best in the game at A.J. Green, and you guys managed 3 field goals in 2 games. What a garbage franchise. You match your helmets. Your complete garbage helmets. The jersey itself, not bad. The helmet is trash. The team, even worse. Thanks for coming out, Cincinnati Bengals.
Dave Bastel's Hateful Eight. Sponsored by... Oh, yeah. See, that could be sponsored, and it could be
It could.
you. Before we let you go, I guess we'll talk a little Major League Baseball as well.
Let me get in Maple Leafs tonight. Maple Leafs and Senators' first game of the exhibition season.
And that's
Joffrey Lupul not expected to play in tonight's game.
surprisingly not expected to play. Oh, it's way too early for that, I think. It's probably not, but I'm just like, what? They're hitting the ice. Major League Baseball, I think of note, the Astros, they clinched the AL West, which is weird. It's like, didn't they clinch it in June? In June,
2 months ago.
You know, so they went over the Mariners, but I think the real moment for what the Astros and Astro fans are looking forward to is the addition of Justin Verlander. And with any sort of luck at all, you know, they're going to have to find themselves a big run. But you can do it when a guy pitches like this. He's looking like the Justin Verlander of, like, what, 3-4 years ago when he was just an absolute machine. And this courtesy of and property of Major League Baseball and Major League Baseball Advanced Media. Just
2 outs and a 1-2 pitch to Segura.
cruising. If you're waiting to hear the sound of the bat, you're going to wait a long time.
Around 92, 93 and a slider.
Look how nasty that stuff is. That's Justin Verlander, and I'll tell you, Dave, if they get that kind of stuff going for them, you know, they're going to be in it. And look, they do have a pitching staff that if they're on, You know, that's the Keuchels of the world. I mean, they've got a rotation that will probably, justify the outrageous, it certainly record they had at one point. But they haven't played a real significant game, a true engagement in quite a while. So I'm really curious, Dave, to see how this rolls over for them in a town that has huge expectations, and then were devastated as a community, and now you find yourself in MLB playoffs. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, it's well, you talked about the bona fide 1-2 starters, and that's kind of what the formula is in Major League Baseball. But when you look at it, there's about 4 or 5 teams that have the 1-2 punch.
Yeah, they do.
And it's nice to see the Astros are getting in, because at first, before that July 31st trade deadline, they did nothing. There was actually players on the team kind of complaining about.
They were pretty public about it.
Where the hell's our additions? Yeah. Well, you got one in Justin Verlander. So moving forward, this is going to be a lot of fun to see how far the Astros can actually take this, because we haven't seen the Astros do anything of significance in the postseason for quite some time. Like we're talking about Mike Scott in the 1980s, and that was a while ago. So you know what? I'll be curious to see what this young team and the young core, the foundation of it, especially offensively. If they could sign them, put them together, and keep them for a long time, we could be seeing the Astros in this spot for years to come.
The Cleveland Indians run comes to an end, and there's so many numbers in baseball, so many numbers that sometimes I get just overwhelmed by it, because I'm not a stats guy. But if you go by the stats, the probability of the Indians making that kind of run at this point of the season, what does it say there? We're showing it on the screen right now, Rusty. What is the? Because the number one is the 19. What are they? The
1916 New York Giants.
1916 guys, and that probability of how many? Was it 26 games?
26.
26 games. And what was that probability?
Average win probability for that Giants team was 65.2%.
But that's during the run. But what about the actual number? 1 in what?
Oh, 1 in 76,702.
But 1916. So you're probably playing guys who, some of them might be a little overweight. Some of them that wasn't their only profession. We're talking 1916. Some of the guys maybe only had one hand. Like, I don't know, back in the day. But what is the number on the Cleveland Indians, though? When you're talking 2017, it's 1 in
29,951.
Like, to me, that accomplishment almost supersedes anything else, because they do also include, what was that? The Moneyball team. The 2000.
Yes. Yeah, the 2002 Oakland Athletics.
Yeah, so Billy Beane. Yeah. But they played a lot of Shies teams in that stretch.
Sure.
So, that's why the number's not that big. But to do what Cleveland did, no one saw this thing coming.
Nope.
The question is, with a run like that, I honestly think, and I always say winning is always good. There's never a bad win. But I don't think it's terrible that they lost, Dave, because I think that win streak, the pressure of keeping that up, going into Major League Baseball playoffs in October, I think it's good they lost.
No, absolutely it's good they lost. And you don't want your losses to happen in October. You want them to happen now, and they're ready to go. They're bolstered. They've clinched. They're prepared, man. This is going to be a fun run for even the Cleveland Indians. They were in the World Series last year. They didn't quite get the job done. Perhaps this is the year. Before we go, this news I'm going to tell you about right now is going to be trending majorly on Twitter in the next little bit, because it's just coming out as we speak.
Okay.
So I don't know much about it, but I will tell you a little bit about it. So Kevin Durant, Golden State Warriors.
Yes.
He has set up a fake account on Twitter to argue with people who put him down on his verified account. Now, the problem is Barstool Sports has found this out because they took pictures of it, screen captured and saved it. The problem is he forgot to switch accounts when he was responding to a guy from his real account. So this fake account that nobody knew was his, he didn't do the switch over, so people have caught him
as Kevin Durant
arguing a guy that was trying. Yeah. So
why do you need to do that?
I have no idea.
You're a multimillionaire. You're one of the elite athletes in the biggest league of your sport in the world.
Yep.
You should be deciding which private or invisible helicopter you take to France with your supermodel girlfriend to buy fucking cheese. But instead, you're calling yourself the old Ron Mexico, and you're squabbling with losers who are probably nothing but jealous of your actual career. Why?
And he is getting crushed on social media right now. Barstool Sports, if you want to check it out, the headline says Kevin Durant forgets to switch accounts while responding to Kevin Durant haters.
Why? Why would you do that? Why? You're rich. You're a millionaire. You don't need to do that. Sorry, it was coming. Oh, by the way, Blue Jays, their final homestand of the year. And I can tell you, nobody cares.
What?
No, they don't. I
Become best friends.
Yeah, I don't care.
You want to go do karate in the garage?
Yep.
You know, it's just like, but what about the pitching, Marcus Stroman? And what about, I'm tired. You know what? Maybe the Leafs need to play the Senators. Maybe we need something, because I just, the Blue Jay talk right now is just, it's a little numbing. It right now, not of significance, and probably won't be, Dave, for another, we could be talking 2 or 3 years if you're talking, trying to build yourself up against what you have in your division. Not going to be easy. As the age in the seniors' home of former baseball players. It's going to be ugly. Thanks for joining us here today on rawmikeRichard.com. Make sure you subscribe to the website or, as always, on YouTube. Have yourself a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.